You think infidelity is all about whispers behind your back? Secret phone calls? No. Sometimes it's silence. A silence so heavy, it cuts straight through the heart. He just reached for a vitamin and found the thing that shattered 25 years of marriage. One random object, one spark of suspicion, and now, hidden cameras, a private investigator, a motel, betrayal through the wall, and a cold-blooded revenge plan ready to blow everything to hell. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watch this video from. Now, let's get started. The house sits in a silence that feels unnatural. It's the kind of quiet that only comes after years of movement, of laughter echoing down hallways and footsteps tapping across hardwood floors. A stillness that clings to the walls, echoing what used to be. Mallory's out running errands. She said she was heading to the store for groceries, but knowing her, she'll return with something more. Maybe a small surprise for the house, or a little treat she thinks I'll like. That's just how she is. Always generous, always looking out for the people she loves. We've been side by side for 24 years now. In just a few weeks, we'll be celebrating 25, a quarter of a century. The weight of that hits me harder than I anticipated. It doesn't feel that long ago I was nervously clutching a ring, rehearsing a proposal I hoped wouldn't end in humiliation. Now, here we are. 2 grown children out of the house, and a home that feels far too big for just the 2 of us. Andrew and Victoria are both away at college. Andrew's close to finishing his last year, while Victoria's just starting her second. The absence of their presence is jarring. No more blasting music from Andrew's bedroom, no more heated back and forth between Mallory and Victoria about curfews. No more friends spilling in and out like a revolving door. These days, it's mostly just Mallory and me. And when she's gone, like today, it's just me. I finally decided to drag myself out of bed. Mallory would get a kick out of seeing me lazing around like a retiree when it's barely even noon. I reached for the bottle of vitamins I keep on the nightstand, twisted the cap, and tilted it to let one fall into my hand. Only, it didn't make it. The pill slipped past my palm, bounced off the edge, and tumbled to the floor, rolling straight under the bed. Cursing softly, I got down on my knees to fish it out. It was dim under there, a bit mustier than I remembered. My fingers skimmed across tufts of lint and what felt like one of Andrew's old socks that must have been hiding out since before he left. Then I touched something unexpected, thin, crinkly, not belonging there at all. I pulled it out, and for a long moment, I just stared. A condom wrapper. My stomach tightened into a knot. My brain stalled, leaving me frozen, crouched on the floor, clutching it like it was something radioactive. I didn't understand. Who could it belong to? We haven't had any guests, no parties, no unexpected visitors. It's just been me and Mallory here for months. And then the possibility I didn't want to consider crept in, unwanted, but impossible to ignore. Was Mallory being unfaithful? A wave of rage surged up, sharp, hot, and sudden, but I forced it back down. What was I supposed to do? Wait for her to walk through the front door and throw it in her face like some kind of smoking gun? That would solve nothing. She'd deny it, maybe twist things back on me. I needed more than this one flimsy piece of evidence. I got to my feet, yanked on a pair of jeans and a shirt, and grabbed my car keys. The house felt like it was closing in, every room suddenly filled with suspicion. I needed air. I needed clarity. And I knew exactly who I could turn to, Davy Jones. No, not the one from the movies. The real Davy Jones, my longtime friend and a damn good private investigator. He earned the nickname during his Navy days, and it stuck long after he swapped ocean waves for city streets. If anyone could help make sense of this, it was him. When I stepped into his office, Davy was lounging in his chair, feet propped up on the desk, sipping from a mug with a chipped handle. He looked up, gave me a familiar grin, and stood to shake my hand. "Well, if it isn't William Davis," he said, gesturing toward the chair across from him. "What brings you in today?" I hesitated, unsure how to start. But once I opened my mouth, it all came pouring out. The wrapper, the dread twisting in my gut, the way everything suddenly felt wrong. Davy listened silently, brows furrowed, nodding every now and then, but never cutting me off. When I finally stopped talking, he leaned back and rubbed at the stubble on his chin. "All right, William, I've got your back. Give me a week, and I'll see what I can uncover. But before we get into this, you need to think about something." He paused, giving his words weight. "If it turns out your suspicions are true, you'll need to be ready. Talk to a lawyer. Start getting a picture of where you stand. Money, assets, legal rights, the whole thing. If this ends in a divorce..." His voice trailed off, letting the rest speak for itself. The idea made my stomach twist, but I nodded. He was right. "Yeah," I murmured. "I'll handle it." Davy placed a firm hand on my shoulder. "We'll figure this out, William, one way or another." I thanked him and stepped out, the wrapper still tucked in my pocket like a weight dragging behind me. A couple of hours later, I was in the office of Butch Reed. The man didn't get his reputation as the toughest divorce attorney around by being soft. He was sitting back in his chair, eyes sharp and steady, dissecting me with his gaze like he already knew the whole story. Butch wasn't just a lawyer, he was a predator in the courtroom. I laid it all out again. As I spoke, Butch flipped through his notepad, jotting things down in his tight, deliberate handwriting. He didn't say a word, just let me talk while his pen kept moving. I waited as he reviewed it all, his eyes scanning his notes, his brain already working through the angles. Finally, he looked up and met my eyes. "William," he said, his voice steady, "if this plays out the way you think it might, you're looking at losing half of everything, your assets, your accounts, the house, everything you've worked for. California law doesn't joke around with this stuff. It's a community property state. That means a clean 50-50 split. No room for negotiation, no special circumstances. Half of everything I'd built over the years, the life Mallory and I had invested our hearts into. The weight of it hit me like a punch to the chest. It was almost too much to process. But even through the shock, one truth rang loud and clear in my mind. I could part with half of everything I had, but I couldn't stay tethered to someone who'd betrayed me. Butch must have caught the silence in my reaction, because he leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to a more deliberate tone. "If you're really going to take this path," he said, "then listen closely. Don't stir the waters. Keep everything looking normal. Don't give her any reason to suspect something's changed. The second she gets a sense of what's going on, she'll lawyer up, and then things will get ugly, fast." I gave a slight nod, the weight of his advice sinking deep. "I'll do my best," I said quietly. By the time I stepped out of his office, my thoughts were worn thin. But my purpose was clear. I couldn't afford to unravel. I had to stay level-headed, no matter how much it burned inside me. When I walked through the front door, Mallory was at the kitchen counter, softly humming to herself as she sliced up vegetables. She looked over and smiled like it was just another day. My chest tightened at the sight, but I managed a faint smile in return. "I've got a business trip starting tomorrow," I said, aiming for a casual tone as I leaned against the counter. "I'll be out all week." That night, she slipped into bed beside me. Her body was warm as she moved closer, fingertips brushing lightly along my arm in a way that used to comfort me. "Come here," she whispered, her voice low, coaxing. But I couldn't. Not tonight. "I'm beat," I muttered, keeping my tone flat. She lingered beside me for a few seconds, then let out a quiet sigh and rolled over, turning her back. I stared into the dark, eyes locked on the ceiling, thoughts racing. Was I making a mistake? Was I letting doubt destroy something we'd built over decades? Maybe the condom wrapper hadn't belonged to her. Andrew had stayed in our room a couple of nights while his bedroom was being repainted. Maybe it had fallen out of his stuff. Was I reaching? Trying to convince myself I was wrong when deep down I knew I wasn't? Or was the truth just what it appeared to be? The questions kept gnawing at me, unraveling the little resolve I had left. But somewhere deep inside, I knew there was no backing out. I had to see this through, wherever it led. At dawn, I got up, packed light, and called for a cab. Mallory didn't stir as I left. Her breathing was soft and steady, undisturbed, as I gently closed the door behind me. The drive out of town was quiet, city blocks slowly giving way to barren roads and scattered gas stations. The motel was plain, a little worn down, but clean, and more importantly, anonymous. Exactly what I needed. I checked in, dropped my bag on the bed, and sat staring at the faded wallpaper as the day dragged on. Evening crept in when my phone finally buzzed. It was Davy. "She just left your place," he said, his voice low but urgent. "She checked into a motel." My pulse spiked. "Which one?" I asked. There was a pause on the line. "The same one you're at," he replied quietly. I froze, sitting motionless on the edge of the bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. Mallory, here, at this same motel. Adrenaline surged through me. Moments later, Davy called again, his voice even more hushed. "She's in the room next to yours. William, listen to me. Do not confront her. Not yet. This isn't the time. Step away. Clear your head." He was right. I knew it, but I couldn't stop myself. "No, Davy," I said, my voice tight. "I need to hear it. I need to know for sure." He let out a heavy sigh, the sound laced with concern. "Okay," he said. "Just don't do anything stupid. Promise me that." "I promise," I mumbled, ending the call with trembling hands. I set the phone down and stared at the wall. The seconds ticked by like hours. Each of them caused acute pain. Then, faintly at first, but becoming clearer, I heard voices through the thin walls. Muted, then distinctly. Mallory's voice, and a man's voice that I didn't recognize. They were engaged in intimacy. Her voice, so familiar, unmistakably hers, cut through the wall. Then came something that made my insides twist in agony. "I don't know why you're still with him," the man sneered. His words dripped with contempt. "He's old, washed up. He doesn't satisfy you, does he?" Then Mallory answered, breathless and distant, in a way I'd never heard from her before. "No, he doesn't," she said. Each word cut like glass. "You're the best I've had in years. He's just too old now." The man laughed, sharp and mocking. "Then why stay with him?" Her answer was cold, mechanical. "I need him to keep the bills paid. Now shut up and do what you're good at." I sat there, hands clenched so tight, the bones in my fists ached. Every word, every sound, sliced deeper than the last. Laughter, breathy moans, cruel whispers. They all burned. Eventually, I couldn't take another second. I stood up, rage burning through my veins, ready to tear the door off its hinges and end this once and for all. Just as I was about to make a move, the door to my bedroom burst open. Davy entered, his expression carved in stone. Without a word, he grabbed my arm tightly, halting me in place. "Don't," he said, low but commanding. His voice was soft in volume but impossible to ignore. "Get off me," I snapped, yanking against his hold, but he only clamped down harder. "William, you need to hear me out," he said, his tone brooking no argument. "The window's still cracked, the camera's rolling, every moment is being documented. You'll have undeniable evidence. If you go barging in there right now," he went on, locking eyes with me, "you'll be the one in cuffs. That'll ruin everything we've built for the divorce case." My vision blurred with fury as I glared at him. My breath came in short, uneven bursts. Every nerve in me screamed with rage. "I'm not worried about the divorce," I hissed through clenched teeth. "I want vengeance." Davy didn't waver. He stepped in closer, unshaken. "And you'll have it," he said, steady and cold. "But not like this. If you let go now, you lose everything." For a moment, I fought it. The anger inside me boiled, ready to explode. But Davy stood like a wall, and his words hit like a splash of freezing water. Slowly, the fury gave way to something heavier, something darker. Grief. I sank down onto the bed, burying my face in my palms. I felt gutted, hollowed out. The woman I'd loved for more than 2 decades was in the next room, dismantling our life with every breath. When the silence became too loud to bear, I rose, my jaw locked tight, my hands still trembling with the aftershock. "I'll make her pay," I said, my voice low, each syllable scraping like glass in my throat. "She can have the house, the accounts, whatever. But I'll ruin her like she ruined me." The days that followed crawled by in agony. I stayed clear of Mallory, playing the part of the quiet, broken man. Sleeping in the guest room made the house feel unfamiliar, like I was a ghost haunting my own life. She'd come around now and then, asking if I needed anything, offering tea with that sticky sweet voice that made my skin crawl. Her kindness was a costume, and I saw through every thread of it. Each time she stepped in, I had to swallow the urge to confront her, to rip off the pretty mask she wore so effortlessly. But I didn't. I couldn't. Not yet. This wasn't only about catching her in the act. This was about taking back what she'd stolen, my power, my control. I spent most of my time holed up, pacing the floor, putting the pieces in place. Davy stayed on her trail, tracking her every move, sending updates by the hour, photos, recordings, timestamps. They were always together now. Sometimes it was at Brian's apartment, other times in the cramped back seat of his car. But the pattern never changed. Mallory, my wife, was sleeping with another man. The revulsion cut deep, like ice in my gut. But beneath that revulsion, something colder stirred, something methodical, unforgiving. She had played her hand. Now it was my turn. The anniversary party crept closer. I had crafted every detail with surgical precision. Mallory, oblivious, was still lost in her fantasy world. Believing this was just a rough patch, she had no idea what was coming. The night arrived. The house buzzed with people and chatter, laughter bouncing off the walls. Mallory looked flawless, dressed to impress, smiling and making conversation like there was no storm hanging overhead. But the ground was already cracking beneath her. Brian was there too, hovering awkwardly, pretending to enjoy himself while stealing glances at her. I saw it all, the guilt twitching in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. But he wasn't my target. She was. Mallory had built this collapse brick by brick, and tonight she would stand in the rubble. I stood near the large screen we'd set up for the evening, microphone in hand. My heart thudded, but my voice didn't waver. "Thank you all for joining us tonight," I began, slicing through the noise. "It means a lot to both me and Mallory." I paused, letting the room settle. All eyes turned toward me. Mallory looked over, smiling, but it faltered, too rigid, too rehearsed. "Mallory and I have been married for 24 years and 6 months, I continued. At that, she shifted slightly. I caught the flicker of worry in her eyes. "But there's something I need to make clear," I said. "That's 24 years and 6 months of deception." Her eyes widened. The blood drained from her face. She opened her mouth to protest, but I lifted a hand, cutting her off. A current of tension rippled through the room, murmurs, suspicion thick in the air. "You all think you know her," I said to the crowd, "but there's a side of Mallory none of you have seen." Right then, Davy appeared, carrying a large box wrapped in paper. He walked straight to her, grinning faintly as he held it out. She took it with trembling hands, clearly puzzled. Her family inched closer, watching as she peeled away the wrapping. And then, she stopped. She froze. The canvas inside stared back at her, an image of her and Brian, naked, tangled together, unmistakable and damning. The room went still. A wave of gasps broke the silence. Mallory slapped a hand over her mouth. Her eyes locked onto the evidence, unable to look away. Behind her, her father's expression darkened with rage. "What the hell is this?" he barked. His voice surged, trembling with rage. "What kind of sick joke is this?" I didn't flinch. "It's no joke," I replied, calm and steady. "This is the truth." I gave Davy a subtle nod. At once, the large screen lit up and the video rolled. The images were sharp, unmistakably clear. There was Mallory, lying comfortably in Brian's bed, her laughter echoing, her lips pressed to his. She had no clue she was being recorded. Then came her voice. "I'm only with him so the money doesn't stop." Her words crashed into the room like a thunderclap. The footage looped, and Mallory's face went pale. Her lips trembled, but nothing came out. She stared at her own image on the screen, as if it had turned into a stranger, one she couldn't run from. The truth was undeniable, and everyone had just witnessed it. But I wasn't finished. From the back of the room, a man in a polished black suit stepped forward, my carefully arranged emissary of reckoning. His pace was calm, his demeanor detached. He walked past Mallory without even glancing at her. He held out a thick envelope. "Mrs. Davis," he said crisply, "you are hereby served." Mallory's eyes darted between him and me, a storm of confusion and fury brewing behind them. She hesitated, then took the envelope with trembling hands. She didn't open it. Her mouth stayed shut. Without delay, the man turned and crossed to Brian. He held out another envelope, identical to the first. "Mr. Parker, this is yours." Brian's face drained of color. He looked at me, then back to Mallory. Panic and shame flickered across his face like lightning. He opened his mouth, but the suited man was already walking away. Near the front stood the CEO of Mallory's company. The man in the suit made his way to him and extended yet another envelope. As soon as the CEO saw it, his face went sheet white. What is this?" he stammered, as if the document might explode in his hands. I cut him off before he could spiral further. My gaze locked onto his, and my words came cold and sharp. "That's a lawsuit. Your company is being taken to court for breaching its ethics policy. Your staff spent their lunch hours engaged in misconduct. And now there are consequences, for them and for you." A crushing silence filled the space. The weight in the air was unmistakable. The CEO, clearly rattled and out of his depth, took the envelope silently and turned away. "Mr. Thompson," I said, my voice ringing through the quiet, "you'd better prepare yourself. This scandal won't wash off. It'll stain everything you touch." Then I turned to Brian. My tone never wavered. "Mr. Parker, you're being sued for alienation of affection. You played a role in destroying my marriage, and you'll answer for that." This story has come to an end. Infidelity isn't just a betrayal of the body. It's a betrayal of trust, of time, of shared years and dreams. But the worst part is how it breaks a person from the inside. In stories like this, it's important to remember, revenge may bring momentary relief, but true strength lies in standing tall, keeping your dignity, and letting go. Don't let someone else's lies destroy your truth. Building a relationship is a choice. So is destroying one. And in that choice, we reveal who we truly are. Cherish those who stand by you, and never forget, truth always finds its way to the surface. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.